Thank you. Welcome, ladies. So, for those of you who don't know, my name is Alethea, and I am here at St. Shelburne District High School with an amazing group of young leaders who have all joined together to form what we call a Youth Advisory Council. And before we get started in today's program, I'd like to share with you what the vision is for this group. It's to provide students with a forum to share their views on events that impact students, to help plan and drive initiatives that enhance students' lives at St. Dufferin and the lives of youth in our community. The goal of this group is to expose students to the world of politics, develop leadership skills, and equip them with valuable tools so they are empowered to realize their goals.
Attention students, all students involved in the Youth Advisory Council, if you could please meet in room 31 right now. All students in the Youth Advisory Council, room 31 right now. Thank you.
Perfect. So, as you can tell, we have invited some distinguished guests today to meet with us and answer some of our questions. Some of the questions and issues that we've been working on for the past few months. I think we've met 3 times already. So we have in our presence our mayor, Wade Mills, who is no stranger to St. Dufferin. He is a graduate of this high school. And we have our deputy mayor, Steve Anderson, who's also no stranger to St. Dufferin. He's done a number of initiatives here in the school. So welcome, gentlemen, and thank you for agreeing to meet with us and providing some valuable insights to these young leaders and sharing plans for the future. We also have Alex from the Shelburne Freelancer, who has graciously agreed to chronicle this event for us. And of course, honorable mentions to our trustee Topping, Officer Kara Widber, and Brandy Noreen from Shelburne School. Okay? So, to get things started, the format today is going to be more of a Q&A and discussion between yourselves and our leaders. So at this time, I'd like to call Wade and Steve up to the front, and I'll put them in the hot seat.
All right.
So if you want to give a brief overview of who you are and
All right, thanks, guys. So, as mentioned, I graduated from St. Dufferin in year 2000, I guess it was. Doesn't seem that.
Year I started here.
So from there, I went on to Brock University, got a bachelor's degree in political science and history there, and then went on to Dalhousie University in Halifax to get my law degree. I came back to Shelburne in 2010, did a lot of law practice. I've been here on Owen Sound Street, working ever since. So, ran for council in 2014, was elected, served 1 4-year term as a councillor, and then in October of this year was acclaimed as mayor. So it's great to be back. As I said, it certainly doesn't seem like 18 years since I went here walking down the hall. You know, some things have changed in the building, but by and large, it's still basically the same school. You know, in a lot of ways it was when I was here. So it's nice to be back, and I'm looking forward to hearing some of the thoughts you guys have. I know there's a list of questions here, but you know, don't feel as though you have to stick to those. I think the idea is for Steve and I to hear from you guys what your concerns are, so that we can take those concerns back to council and use that information to help us form some of the decisions that we'll make over the next 4 years. So, thank you.
thank you. Steve?
My journey is a little different than Wade's. I grew up in Jane and Finch, Toronto. Went to the University of Windsor for my undergraduate in honors criminology. Graduated Windsor and then went to Ottawa Law School, or Ottawa for Law School. And then after graduating law school, I got a job. I was fortunate to get a job working with the Toronto Transit Commission. So in addition to being your deputy mayor, I'm also a litigation lawyer with the TTC. I've been a lawyer with them for the last 15 years and counting. And for me, I was appointed. So unlike Wade, who ran and served a full 4-year term, I was appointed in October of last year.
The environmental action meeting is taking place now in room 93.
In October of last year, after the passing of Tom Egan. So my ascent has been, I guess, pretty fast, and I'm still learning a lot. But I must say that we have a great team around the council table, and we're certainly looking forward to taking on the issues, answering your questions, and seeing where we could take the community moving forward. So I do want to give a shout out to Alethea for organizing this session this afternoon. And of course, all the individuals that are here, Alex, Lynn, Althea, and Randy as well. So we look forward to hearing your questions and hopefully providing some answers.
Thank you, gentlemen. So fitting that Wade touched on the fact that he used to have these calls a few short years ago.
Okay, it looks like you just graduated, right?
Right? Perhaps we'll start with some of the issues that you have raised in the school around overcrowding. I don't know, does someone want to take the lead on bringing that subject up? So I know some of you have mentioned there were issues with overcrowding in the school, and there's not enough space, there's not enough facilities. Did you want to elaborate on perhaps that? And we have also our trustee here that can probably comment on some of the issues that you're facing in the school.
So maybe let's start with the hands who feel that there's
Come
overcrowding.
on, guys, you want to voice.
Or do you feel that the way it is right now is fine with the amount of students that are currently here?
How many students are here now?
Approximately 850, I think, around in there, give or take. We've had more. I think when you were here,
I was
there
going to
was
say, I think
about
it was about
1,000.
1,000
Oh, wow.
when I graduated. Yeah, so numbers have decreased a little bit. That was when they used to have OAC. I'm not sure if anybody knows what that is, but basically it was a 5th year of high school. So if you were going to if you're going to university, the plan was that you would take a 5th year, and it was kind of designed to be university level prep courses. So there was sort of a full extra year of students here. But yeah, I mean I can relate. It's not a large school, so crowding was an issue then, and as I saw when I was walking down the hall, it certainly is now. The one thing to keep in mind, and Lynn, I don't want to put you on the hot seat, but municipal council really doesn't have a whole lot of
Jenna Fines to guidance, please. Jenna Fines to guidance.
direct impact when it comes to planning.
Jaden Hamilton to the office, please. Jaden Hamilton to the office.
So Upper Grand School Board, and Lynn is our local trustee on that board, sort of makes those sorts of decisions. I don't know if you want to touch on that.
They project for the next 5 years, you're going to be sitting around this number, slightly higher, but not to the point of overcrowding.
And do they have any long-term ideas of change? Because that's 5 years, but 10 years from now, with some of those students from that are in there, with all the new people moving in, some of those kids that are coming in from the elementary schools, are they anticipating that?
They do, but it's also, you really have to prove to the ministry that you need that, and until every other school is overcrowded, they won't allow you to build a new one.
Or put an addition on?
Right, so you would have to say that Orangeville was overcrowded, Westside was overcrowded, and we were overcrowded before they would even start to look.
So the halls are the way they are, guys. So that, which brings you guys back to then, what were some of the suggestions you guys had made? That if the walls themselves could not be moved, what can we do to help within these walls that we have?
Well, everyone kind of already knows just to stay on the right side at all times.
But do they?
Well, yeah, mostly, but not really. Especially it's not every single hall. It's certain halls that are super crowded.
Okay.
But yeah, everyone kind of just stays on the right side because if you stop, you're gonna get screamed at or
And-
run over.
And there were some suggestions about how to help with flow. did anybody else come up with, other than visuals on the floor, is there anything else that you think might be? Okay.
So I know one of the other issues that was important to you was around transportation. And some of you raised some really good points around, the opportunity for co-op and jobs. Did you want to comment around a little bit more on what some of those issues were?
I know it's been a month and a half. I think when you got in.
They may be distracted because lunch is already here, so it may be a good time to break for that. And then what Wade and I will do, just on the transportation issue, we could talk about maybe some of the recent developments that are happening, and maybe that will help spur in the discussion. So maybe we'll take a bit of a break. We'll make sure that people are fed, because it's hard to think on an empty stomach. So maybe we'll take a break now, and then we'll resume in it.
Steve comes back, just because he has some kind of exciting news on a couple of things that he's been working on that front.
Perhaps we can move on down to recreation. And I know someone mentioned something about a walking trail, or a need to have a walking trail last year. Was that you? Taylor?
Yeah, just like, you don't have anywhere to go biking or running that's not on the sidewalk, where people are trying to walk. And no one can go there, it's like the Island Lake Trail.
And that's a good point. One thing that you may not be aware of, and that's one of the issues, we do actually have some fairly extensive trails within town. Problem is they're kind of hidden and they're not well connected. So one of the things we have talked about is developing kind of a better trail strategy to make sure that they are all connected, so that you can get from one end of town to the other, using just the trail system without having to go on the roads and the sidewalks, and then also having better mapping available, so that when you get on the trailhead, you know where this one leads or where I have to connect, to get to whatever area of town you're looking for. They are gravel trails too, which can be problematic. I took my son out this summer in a stroller, and you realize pretty quickly what the limitations are to a gravel trail, when you're trying to push a stroller. So the same sort of thing applies to bikes or anybody that might be confined to a wheelchair too. So I think looking at different surfacing options for trails to make them more accessible is something that I think we can take a look at as well, to make sure that these systems are available for everybody. So that's a good point.
Is there a resource or a recreational website in town that we can reference to be able to see where these trails are, and not yet?
Not yet, and that's sort of to the point. So the town is in the process right now of redeveloping our entire website, and the hope is that when we are able to develop sort of that master trails map, that will be on the website. But then beyond there, I would like to see some physical signs, at the trailheads as well, so that when you sort of head off on the trail, you know where it leads, and like I said, where it may connect other trails to get you through town.
And just in addition to that, I think it's important once the site is developed that we do a better job of utilizing our social media for that purpose as well. So whether it's taking photographs of the trails, the locations of where they are, and putting that on Instagram, Facebook, etc., I think that would be helpful as well, so that people could know where the trails are and be able to access them. So these are things that we're working on. As Wade mentioned about resurfacing, it's interesting because we're coming up to budget discussions. And so we're going to see where the money is at. But that's something, hopefully, in the future, near future, hopefully, that's something that we could accomplish, because we have quite a bit of trails here in town. And I see it as an opportunity to really not only benefit our residents, but use it as a form of tourism, and highlight that Shelburne is a place where if you enjoy your trails, people are already coming up north anyways, right? And so allow Shelburne to be a destination point instead of people driving through the town. Have them stop and access some of the things that we value, including our trails, of course.
Great. Do you know if there are any plans for other recreational facilities in town for the youth to participate in? So some of the students have mentioned that they leave Shelburne for volleyball. You know, there's nothing in town for them. Tennis. Are there any plans to put facilities in place or?
Well, I think with respect to the tennis, one of the areas we looked at, and this is sort of informal, the KTH Park is an area that we had looked at, and we obviously need signage there to let people know
Amina,
where the
Miko
parks
to the
are.
office, please. Amina, Miko to the office.
But that's something in particular, and I'm referring to or sort of focusing on the tennis courts, but during the course of our campaign as we went door to door, whether there were youths or active seniors or adults, they were asking for a tennis court. A lot of them were mentioning that yes, they have to leave town to be able to access a facility like that. And so that's something that we would like to see present here in town. And that particular park, you know, just looking at it, may be a good spot for that. So this is something that I think could happen, or at least discussions surrounding that around budget talks to see whether or not we could allocate funding for the development of a tennis court, amongst other things as well.
The one thing to keep in mind when it comes to recreational stuff, and I see sort of the list here, you know, there's quite a range in terms of cost, you know, between a tennis court versus, for example, an indoor swimming pool. So, you know, the one thing that, you know, politicians like Steve and I always have to struggle with are, you know, your list of wants then versus, you know, the realities of being able to afford those things. But by all means, you know, things like tennis courts, things like, you know, beach volleyball courts, basketball courts, those are things that don't cost, you know, a tremendous amount of money in the grand scheme of things, but I think are things that probably would, you know, get a lot of use. One of the things that we are going to be looking at doing in the very near future is establishing a Parks and Recreation task force in town to sort of look at, you know, the whole big picture of Parks and Rec as it currently exists in town, and what are, you know, some of the things that we can look at to improve that. My sort of vision for that group is that it will have membership from all the different service clubs, because oftentimes those are the groups that are able to chip some money in and help with the fundraising for these things. And once we get that up and running, I think that would be a great sort of outlet for this group to tap into, to share, you know, kind of what your Parks and Rec needs are as young people. So keep that one in mind, that we'll probably be coming back to you to get some more specific input on the kinds of things that you guys want to see, and also where you want to see them. You know, there's no sense sticking, you know, tennis courts, for example, at KTH Park, if nobody's going to use them there. If there's a better place to put them, then, you know, that's part of the discussion we can have.
Any other comments, questions? Sorry, Heidi?
Also within, I guess it would fall in recreation, entertainment, so kind of connected. There was mention about like a movie night or something like that. I'm not sure all that has to happen to get rights on movies, and you know, maybe doing that at town hall or whatever, something, because that is another one of the number one things for young people traveling down to Orangeville to go see a show.
Yeah, I was about to say that Althea has, I know that she has approached council at one point or the other with that concept. So it's something in the works. And I do want to say, pause for a second, just to say that Wade and I sincerely appreciate all of you guys being here and providing the input that you're providing, because it does make a difference, and we don't want to be making decisions that are not factoring our youth. So I want to assure everyone here in this room that your opinions, your ideas, they matter, and when we're sitting at the table and we're making decisions on the behalf of the town, they'll certainly be factored into the equation. So thank you for that.
How many people here have been to Grace Tippling Hall in Town Hall? It's the theater that's in there. Yeah, not too many. Basically what it is, I mean, it's a theater setup. It's, you know, part of the original theater that was in that building a long time ago. It's kind of a heritage feature within town, but you know, more than that, it's a great little theater, and I think it's a, you know, really an untapped resource in this town that we haven't used probably as well as we could have. So I think one of the things we're going to be looking at over the next 4 years is, you know, how we sort of, you know, build on that arts and culture scene, but also looking at sort of, you know, other forms of entertainment, whether it's movie nights or you know, you name it. It's a great venue to host any sort of event. So I would urge you to check it out. I mean, even if you're around town hall, just pop in someday. It's upstairs. Peek your head in and take a look. And you know, if any of you guys are involved in theater, you know, keep that in mind. That is a space that's available. If you know, if you're interested in putting on productions, you know, let's try to use that resource more, because it's great, but unfortunately it sits there unused 90% of the time.
And I guess the same could be said for the park itself.
Yeah.
It's great that you mentioned that there's plan in place to use Waste Tipping Hall more often in the next 4 years, because some of the issues that the students have raised is the fact that they're leaving Shelburne to participate in various cultural events, whether it's going back to Brampton or Toronto or Mississauga. And when you think about, you know, the kind of money that we can be bringing into the town of Shelburne, as opposed to having the students leave or their families leave, there's some great opportunities there. So happy to hear you.
I was going to say that was one of the other ones. I'm not sure who mentioned it.
I think Sue
about an event hall for things like proms.
Yeah.
Like having like a convention center or like a banquet hall or something. 'Cause like it's like for like high schools, like proms or like grad, things like that. It's not just for like high school kids. It's like it kind of goes into like grade 8 grad as well, and things like that. And having it like close would be like way better, because I heard that like they had it in like one of the grads.
Royal Ambassador.
Yeah, and it's like really hard for like students to get down there because it's like far. So it'd be good to have like some sort of convention center like in town that's like easy to get to.
Something else that hasn't changed in 18 years. My high school prom was in Toronto too. So.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so great discussion on recreation and entertainment in town. We touched on, sorry?
Was there more specifics when it came to the kinds of entertainments, or whether it was like comedy? I think you referenced cultural, but was there any other specifics as to what sort of entertainment that you guys would like to see in that space? So whether are there comedy acts or are there musical acts or cultural shows as one of the things that I heard, but does that cover it, or are there particular acts or forms of entertainment that you want to see utilized in that space?
So I know someone mentioned the music festival, something to that extent, but at this point we're looking for anything, because there is nothing.
Something's better than nothing?
Yes.
Something like Battle of the Bands or something like that. There, who knows, right? Or the launch in Shelburne. The musical launch in Shelburne. That might be an option.
What about a karaoke night?
Great idea.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
I was going to say, because karaoke generally is in bars, which doesn't allow for these guys to really feel comfortable within that setting. Supporting them in. At least we don't want to have them in there necessarily.
So perhaps purpose the school auditorium and have a karaoke night here to students. So it's
Steve all started off.
We're going to do a duet together.
But in the essence of time, perhaps at our next meeting we can provide some more specific examples of events and entertainment that we would like to see in town, and then we can share that with council. Okay.
One question that I have, what's the best way for the town to sort of reach out to you guys when it comes to sharing information? So I mean, if it's an event coming up, or if it's, you know, some piece of news that we think is important that get out to younger people, you know, is Facebook, social media, is that a good route?
Wait, like, do you mean like individually or like?
Sort of as a collective. So, you know, when we're trying to reach kind of the broader population, you know, we have our local media sources. We advertise in those. You know, we post videos on Alex's website. We share, you know, news stories or announcements on Facebook. is any of that stuff actually reaching you guys? Because I suspect it's not.
I think the younger generation is like more into Instagram than
Told
Facebook.
you.
Yeah,
Facebook's
no
for
one-
old
Yeah, welcome to the old sorry.
Well, Wade's younger than I am, forgive me. all right?
No one really goes on Facebook anymore. No one uses that. It's mostly like Instagram.
Just to talk to their grandparents, right?
Yeah.
So maybe creating the town Instagram account. Now, maybe we could have some of our political advisors here help us maintain that site, and that way, or contribute to the content of that site, and that would be a good way of keeping the young people involved as to the content that's on that site. So that could be something that we could look into.
One of the things that we have started doing just very recently, it's an online, they call it an engagement tool, but basically what it's designed to do is to sort of, reach out into the community and get feedback and get thoughts from, a wide cross-section of people in the community. The particular program is called Bang the Table. But essentially what it is, it sort of operated through the town's website.
Pay Center deference. The results have come in on the waste audit. The amount of garbage that we produce per person per day is 2.65 kilograms. Congratulations to Sarah Bannon and Seth Train, who were the closest with their guests.
That's Sarah.
Be sure to see Miss Cressy to pick up your prize.
Congratulations. But basically what the tool is, on any number of issues, we'll sort of post questions out there for people to chime in on, but then there's also an opportunity to leave comments. So, if the specific questions that are listed don't really, address what your concerns are, there is a chance for you guys to leave comments. So what I'm hearing is probably if we're sending those sorts of things out, if we want to get your thoughts, we should maybe put that on Instagram as opposed to just Facebook.
And maybe to facilitate discussion on those forums, we want to make it clear that the opinions can be anonymous.
Yeah.
Just to protect the privacy of the individuals who are submitting the comments in the event that they don't want their names all over it. So that's something that we can ensure just to make sure that there's a free flow of information.
Okay, and I know we're at 12:20 and these students have to get back to class, so can we just touch on transportation since we left it off earlier? Save the rest for last.
Well, it's a good thing. I mean, there's quite a bit that's happening. The town has been petitioning the minister for quite some time over the years, long before I became a councillor, to try to secure transit up to the area. And what we're really talking about is GO Transit service from Orangeville to Shelburne and back. I use a term that I felt when I moved here that we were voted off the island because we didn't have any connection there. And so the efforts had long started when Wade was on council, and I certainly came on and tried to facilitate those efforts. So Sylvia Jones, our MPP, who's in the provincial government, the Ford cabinet, made an announcement not too long ago about funding for transit in Dufferin County as a whole. I've certainly had the opportunity to meet with Sylvia herself to put forward the issues that we have here in our town. And recently we got a notification from the minister that our delegation before the minister to talk about transit in Dufferin County has been accepted. So I believe it's happening on, what is it, the 27th? 27th of this month. So we're going to have, or at least the county will have about 15 minutes before the minister to make the pitch as to the relevance of having transit in our area. So that will allow, whether it's for access to medical appointments for our seniors, job opportunities if they're not here and you need to go down to Orangeville, or for recreation for now until we get recreation here, you'll have the independence to be able to make your way to these areas or to Orangeville without having to be to rely on your parents. So there's a lot that's happening right now. I was saying to Wade before the meeting started that it's exciting times right now because there wasn't a lot of traction before, and we're getting a lot of traction within a very short period of time. So I think the signs are good. The other thing that you guys may be worried about as well is the amount of traffic downtown and a lot of trucks that are rumbling downtown. And so I'll save that for Wade because that is probably the best piece because it speaks to safety. And Wade at the county level brought a motion to deal with what we call a truck bypass, which is to deviate the trucks from the downtown core. So I'll let Wade speak on that.
Sure. Yeah, just very briefly, you know, as Steve said, as any of you guys, I'm sure are aware, when you're downtown, you know, Shelburne is kind of unique in comparison to other towns because our two major streets that intersect right in our downtown core are both provincial highways. So there's Highway 89 and Highway 10. And what that means is that, you know, we have a lot of very heavy truck traffic rolling right through our downtown core, which creates a lot of issues. So we have been pushing to try to get some attention from the province to suggest that it probably is time now to create a truck bypass like the one they have in Orangeville, like the one they have in Alliston, to basically divert those trucks around town so that, you know, we can keep our downtown for, you know, pedestrians and lighter vehicles. Some good news on that front too. I've just found out, I think it was Friday actually, that the Minister of Transportation has accepted a request for me to meet with him. So that'll be on the 28th. So transit's on the 27th, and I'm down in Toronto on the 28th, and I'll meet with the minister and sort of give the best pitch I can on behalf of Shelburne to at least get the ball rolling. I mean, it's a huge project, multi-millions, you know, in terms of cost to do that, most of which would be covered by the province. So, you know, it's not something that probably will happen, you know, by summertime, needless to say, but, you know, we have to start that process. So I'm glad at least that the minister is listening and willing to hear me out on that, so we'll make the best pitch we can.
So Wade and I, just before we wrap up, will commit to the next time that we meet as a collective to provide you with any updates as a result of those two initiatives. So whether it's the transit issue or the truck bypass, we'll update you as to what's going on, keep you guys into the loop, and certainly any feedback that you have with respect to the efforts that we're both taking respectively, then we would welcome that, okay?
Perfect.
I brought some cards too, I'll leave them up here. Email addresses on there, cell numbers on there too, if you want to text, if that's easier. I guess I better get my Instagram game.
I was going to say a couple other things that, just to put bugs in your ear, so to speak, for the next time we meet, things that weren't mentioned or didn't really have time to talk about that were mentioned before. One was more mainstream food within town. So people are going down to Orangeville for mainstream food and beauty products, especially for a growing community, a multicultural community.
So specialty products.
The specialty product, they are not here. So the students, especially the women, have to go far afield to get the things that they need. It's not something that we can get at the IBA. Things like that are a little bit more cultural based that just aren't happening here. They're not keeping up with the influx.
Yep.
And I know one of the solutions that the students had mentioned was perhaps to have a site where we can go collectively and find out all the businesses and different things that are available in
What is out
town.
there?
So
Yeah.
that's perhaps something that you guys can work on.
There is a store that is opening up,
Yes.
we'll talk about beauty
Yes.
products, so you should just comment on that. I know, Letha, you're aware of that.
Yeah, there is a store in town called Blavish Hair Care, and they do carry a wide variety of products. I can share the information with you collectively once
Wonderful.
this meeting adjourns. But I know we're out of time. I don't want you ladies to be late for class. So do you guys have any last minute questions for Wade or Steve?
When's the next time we're meeting would be a good one. Oh, did you have a question? Sorry. I totally-
Can we get the banquet hall before like 2021?
So obviously she's planning for her graduation.
I think Wade's house is large enough. You can probably do it there.
So if no other questions, let's thank Wade and Steve for their time.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much for coming.